Three, two, one.
Do the roar. Hello, everybody. And welcome to Franchise Deep Dive, the podcast where we break down, dissect, and discuss all of your favorite and least favorite movie franchises. I'm Jake.
And I'm Josh.
Sorry, I'm still laughing.
That's
Josh,
probably the funniest part in the fourth one.
I couldn't think of a single quote in either of the movies that was like super funny or super like emotionally resonant. And then I thought of the do the roar thing, and that, like I was telling you before that we started recording, I had to practice doing that for like 20-30 minutes earlier. I think I nailed it.
Do the roar. Do the roar.
Do the roar.
Do it. Oh,
I like after he does it too, the kid goes, I didn't like that.
What the fuck was that part? Like, what? That was just like, did they know? Was that supposed to be like the highlight comedy part of that movie?
I remember. So I don't know if I said this last episode, but I had seen Shrek 1, 2, and 3 before we were doing it for the podcast. But I had never seen Shrek 4, or at least I'd never seen it all the way through. Maybe like I had started it in the past, but I do remember when Shrek 4 was coming out. I think it's 2010. I know that they used that in like all of the trailers for that movie. Like I distinctly remember seeing the trailers and seeing them use that joke. Probably the best joke in the movie if I had to pick one. It's not even a joke, actually. It's just like
it's
a funny
thing that happens.
It's mainly just like a little like 8-year-old boy sounding like an old grizzled man who smokes like 2 packs a day. I think that's the funniest part.
But it happens like fucking 10 times. It's crazy. But
when you got gold, you just keep striking.
But this will be easy for me, at least to start, because I got no history with these movies. The most I could say about the third one is that the last time I saw it, and even then, I don't know if I saw the whole thing or if I was like in and out. It was in 8th grade art class. It was just like, it might have been a day near the end of the year where we weren't doing
why
anything.
are they showing that? And if there's any class that's easy to fuck around in and you don't have to like put on a movie for the kids, it's probably art class. You just give them all a piece of paper and you say, draw something.
Yeah. And I remember it was a huge classroom, and I was really far away. So I don't remember, I don't know. I don't remember the movie at all. So that's my history with these movies. None.
Had you seen the 4th Shrek movie before this?
Nope.
Okay, so we're kind of a new experience for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, I guess we kind of already just jumped right into discussing these movies. But if you, for some reason, are still listening and you don't know what we're talking about, or you didn't see the title of the video before you clicked on it, we are obviously continuing our little DreamWorks series and also our Shrek franchise deep dive. This is going to be part 2 of a 3-part series. In the last episode, we discussed Shrek 1 and Shrek 2, which was really fun. I think we both had really fond memories with both of those movies, and it was fun revisiting both of them. In this episode, we are, of course, tackling Shrek the Third and Shrek Forever After. And then we will conclude the Shrek series in the next episode, which will be both of the Puss in Boots movies. But before we fully jump into the discussion on Shrek the Third, because very similar to Josh, I don't really have a history with either of these movies. I just mentioned that I hadn't seen the 4th one, or if I did, I never finished it because I don't remember much of it. I do remember watching Shrek the Third at least 2 or 3 times in my past, yet I probably didn't remember 95% of what happens, so that may be a testament to the movie, or, I have a good memory, so it's definitely the movie's fault. But before we get into the discussion and kind of, set the stage for the movie and discuss our feelings on it, it's kind of perfect timing, because as of the time that we are recording, which is March 2nd, beautiful little Sunday, a couple hours before the 97th Academy Awards, which has nothing to do with what I'm about to say, but I brought it up anyway. But I don't know if you saw, just the other day, DreamWorks released the very first teaser, our first look at the upcoming Shrek 5.
Yeah.
You
How do you
saw
feel about
it?
the redesign?
Which, yeah, Josh just brought up. Fans of the Shrek films and people in general on the socials do not seem to be a fan of the redesign of especially the characters of Shrek and Donkey. I didn't really see too many people talking about Fiona. It didn't seem like they messed with her as much as the other two. But yeah, they redesigned Shrek and Donkey. You also see Shrek's daughter, Felicia, who's grown up at this point, or she's a teenager, voiced by Zendaya, which people also seem to have a problem with. I saw a lot of people complaining that Zendaya was in this movie, and all I could think of was, guys, that is the least of our problems right now. But yeah, I just thought it was funny to bring up, considering we are talking about Shrek 3 and 4 today, that we did get our first glimpse, which seems a little bit strange because I don't know if you know the movie's release date, but it's not coming out until Christmas of 2026. So why they're releasing a teaser 2 years out, I'm not exactly sure. But
Is that too far?
I think, yeah, that's way too far. I mean, there's times where studios release full-on trailers that have like unfinished VFX or animation work. So I have to assume that. But here's the thing, and it's one thing I wanted to address. People were trying to defend it, a couple people, and they're defending the wrong thing because all I kept seeing was, what, guys, you don't like that it looks polished and clean? It's not the animation quality that's the problem. It's the design of the characters. You can have good animation and good high quality looking VFX and animation, but also it still be a bad character design.
But it also is weird, like the polished part. It's like zero contrast. It's like it's very soft, and it just looks weird for Shrek.
Yeah, it
like,
almost felt like, and this is a really weird comparison. Were you ever a Pokemon kid?
Nah.
So I was a big Pokemon kid, and loved the games, loved the trading card, loved the show as a youth. But I haven't really played much Pokemon recently. Just haven't really been into it. But I also just wasn't a fan of the more recent designs, and I could never really explain in my own words why I didn't like them. And then someone made a video that was perfectly explaining how I felt, and I just couldn't vocalize it, in which was, back then when you were a kid, or at least when I was a kid, Pokemon were designed, I don't know if you know what Pokemon stands for, Pocket Monster. That's like the shortened, Pocket Monster. And they were actually designed to look like little monsters. Yeah, they were kind of cute at times. Pikachu's cute and adorable, but they were still designed to look like monsters. And then somewhere around like 2010 or 11, they started designing Pokemon to look a lot more like fluffy and kid-like, like family-friendly, and more rounded edges, less angular designs, less monster, and more kind of fluffy little animal. And what they did with the Shrek animation or the Shrek designs in this one, it kind of reminds me of that. Like they're a little more softer, a little less edgy, I don't know.
Yeah, so someone like kind of broke down just little things, and they were like redesigning the redesign, and they were like, for one, like his eyes are like really close together. They were like, let me just like space them out. Already it's looking more like Shrek, but they were like zooming in on like the eyebrows even, and how like brushed and like soft it is. And they were saying, just look at the sharpness of Shrek in the original design. Like that's what you're seeing also, is that it was just less sharp and like less contrasty. So I don't know. It just looks weird. It just looks weird.
I just don't get
He looks
the
like
point.
He looks more like I don't, because it's not just like like you said, the style, but it's like his features just don't. I don't know how they don't look like him as much. They just don't. It almost looks like he's like part of the ogre family in the fourth one.
Yeah.
Like he looks like one of them, kind of.
To me, it's
Just
like they
completely
make him
different.
look a little less ugly. Like he's a little, in quotes, nicer on the eyes. Whereas
Yeah.
Shrek always had this kind of, I don't know, that he had this ogreish look to him. He looked like a kind of disgusting monster, and that was part of the charm and appeal. And this one, yeah, I get it. He's still a big green ogre, but again, it's like they made him look more eye friendly. Like they made him more look aesthetically pleasing and less like that grotesque ogre that we've come to know and love.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think
It's
the
weird.
animation looks cheap. I think the character designs just look horrible. That's still my biggest issue with it. But either way, I just thought I wanted to bring that up. I thought it was timely and applicable to the
It is crazy that we decided to do Shrek and then the teaser came out.
Yeah, so I didn't want to go without talking about that. And plus, as we had kind of talked about before the podcast, we don't think this is going to be a very long one today, guys. So we had a little bit of extra time to spare. But without further ado, shall we get into our discussion on Shrek the Third?
We shall.
All right, guys. So Shrek the Third was released in 2007, a mere 3 years after Shrek 2. It was directed by Chris Miller, a budget of $160 million and a box office return of $808.3 million and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 41% from critics. I also had a couple of little facts that I thought were interesting about how well it did financially. It grossed $122 million domestically in its opening weekend alone. At the time, that was the third biggest opening in history after Spider-Man 3, which was also in 2007, and Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. So did very well at the box office. It was also the highest grossing opening day for an animated film until 3 years later, when Toy Story 3 would break it. I didn't write down the numbers, but I think it made around 38 mil its opening day, and then Toy Story 3 did 41 mil, if I'm correct. And then this was the last one, and then we can obviously get into setting up the plot and discussing it. But from a list of stats reported in Famous Magazine, it took 1 million man-hours to complete this movie with a crew size of 150. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if that's true. I didn't verify it, but I thought that, we've known that, IMDb can lie to us sometimes. So
yeah,
take it with a grain of salt, guys. But I
hope people weren't disappointed with this when it came out, considering it did really well at the box office.
I mean, it did financially really well, and it's very well animated. Like, I think the animation looks nice. It had a good budget. It's not like the animation drops in quality. It's not like a Kung Fu Panda 4 situation. So I guess we're kind of thankful for that. But yeah, let me set up the plot of the movie. We'll read on the synopsis over on IMDb just to keep it short and concise. Reluctantly designated as the heir to the land of far, far away, Shrek hatches a plan to install the rebellious Artie as the new king, while Princess Fiona tries to fend off a coup d'etat by the jilted Prince Charming.
So, how do you feel about Prince Charming getting like his big moment as like the main villain? I kind of want to just start with that.
It's not bad in theory, but it is horribly executed.
Yeah, like the setup is, I'm okay with the setup. He kind of like gathers the outcasts, the villains of like all the fairy tale stories, and kind of like creates this revolution against the kingdom. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that, but yeah, we can kind of like get into like how it's executed and stuff like that.
So a perfect kind of segue is one of, if not my biggest problems with the script and story of Shrek the Third, amongst other issues I have. But probably the biggest flaw, in my opinion, is that individually, a lot of the plots that are set up, I think would have worked fine and been a fine addition to the Shrek saga or whatever if they had been done by themselves and focused on. So I think, okay, yeah, you want to take, I guess, the secondary antagonist of the second Shrek film, Prince Charming, and make him the focal point of this movie. I think that might work. He, like you said, he recruits all of the outcasts and kind of the villains of the, all of these different fairy tale mythos. That could work really well on its own. Him staging this kind of invasion of far, far away and taking over and becoming king, that could work really fine on its own. What else could work really fine on its own is Shrek not wanting to be king and having to venture out and go on this voyage and try to, bring the new, or the only other remaining heir, Artie.
A quest, if you will.
Yeah, he could have gone on this quest and that would have worked. There's elements of this movie that could have worked if they were just focused on, but the biggest problem in this movie, I think, is it tries to do too many things, and it doesn't focus enough on any one area, that the whole kind of plot of the film feels really messy and really incohesive. Not sure if you felt that way too, but that's kind of my biggest issue.
So like I remember nothing of this movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I was expecting the kids to be a bigger part of the story, but I guess it's just like the
Which kids?
His upcoming kids. I thought they were like in the movie more. I thought they had a bigger presence.
Oh, Shrek's kids?
But I guess it's just
Yeah.
I guess it's just like the most of the movie. Well, the majority of the movie is just his like kind of just, I guess, dealing with the his new potential being a father. Well, no, not even potential. He's going to be a father, so it's just him dealing with that upcoming responsibility of it, and just like I don't know, and
Well,
kind of
that's
I
a
guess
subplot that we didn't even mention. But before you go into it briefly, before Shrek goes on this quest to bring Artie, the other heir, to be the king or whatever, Fiona yells out to him, "Hey, I'm pregnant." So that's another plot line too.
that scene is kind of played off. When I saw it, I originally thought he didn't hear it, and I thought he was like kind of acting like he heard it. So I was like, oh, is that gonna like come back later? Like he just kind of like nodded and like agreed to whatever she said, and he doesn't realize that she's pregnant.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was just kind of like played off like
I think
that,
that scene he's trying to make it seem like at least at first he's trying to make it seem like he didn't hear it, so that he wouldn't have to address it.
Yeah.
But then sorry, I do like that one joke though. I like the joke with Puss in Boots where he's about to say like you're royally fucked, but right as he's about to say fucked, the horn blows. I thought that was one minor funny moment.
But let's talk about the like just. I said how Donkey takes a back seat, I think, in the second one. This man gets shoved in the trunk, him and Puss, in this movie. I mean, it's the overall humor in this movie. It just takes such a dip. I wish I wrote down more of the jokes that like just didn't land for me, but I wrote down a couple parts where they just sacrifice so much for cheap humor, and none of it lands for me. I'm trying to think of like one really funny part in this, and without, unironically funny. It opens with Harold dying, and it kind of does the. I don't know if they try to be funny with this, but Shrek, what are they, in the play or something like that? And someone comes in and he says, "Someone better be dying," and it just cuts to him saying, "I'm dying." It's very just like forced in there, and then they spend 5 fake outs about where Harold just like pretends to die. Yeah. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to feel in this scene? It's so out of place and just like misdirected. I don't like, why would you not make that a little bit more serious? You're just kind of like making a joke of it, and it just more took me out of it. But I also don't know why in that scene they kind of built up Shrek's relationship with him. It was like a sad moment for Shrek more than Lillian and Fiona. They took like a backseat to Shrek's like conversation with him, his like final moments of his life. But just immediately we're put in that scene. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just rolling my eyes. Like, this is what I'm going to have to deal with. Just like this movie, just trying to sacrifice everything to get a quick laugh. And it's not even funny. So I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, that's actually one of the first notes I had taken, and out of the few things that I did remember from this third Shrek film, that was one of the key ones, is that I never felt like in the first two that they ever sacrificed a strong emotional beat for a cheap laugh, whereas like you said, in this one, right off the bat, they kind of start doing that, especially with King Harold's death. Like, I mean, they do weirdly try to squeeze in this little emotional beat between Shrek and Harold as he's dying, and it probably should have focused more on like the collective sadness of like Fiona, her mother, and maybe Shrek, because I do think that character of Harold has like a decent amount of development in that second Shrek film. Like, he is pretty villainous for a majority of that movie, but then by the end he does make the sacrifice play and comes around to accepting Shrek and Fiona for who they are. So there is a lot of good character development in that last movie. And then Yeah, like you're trying to feel this emotional beat. All right, this character that's been developed, who made the sacrifice play in the last movie. All right, let's try to hit us in the feels. Start off the movie with an emotional bang, and then just all right, one fake out. All right, that was kind of cheap, but let's move past it. Two fake outs. Okay, we're still doing this, huh? And then they just keep doing it. And one of my biggest criticisms of the last two Shrek movies, not as much in those as I have in these movies, but the licensed fucking music. Even after the character of Harold dies and you're trying to somewhat feel the sadness of the scene, I have to, cut over to these animated frogs singing and live and let die. Ooh.
That was bad.
Like,
this movie has like the most. This movie commits the most sins on the soundtrack, and I can't wait to talk about it as we get more in the movie, because there's the worst moment in the series for me in terms of soundtrack.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that. But yeah, and I mean, I'm glad you touched on that. You kind of them ruining the emotional beat with comedy. Like you said, you had already brought up, and we discussed it a little bit, but one of my early notes was I do like the scene of Charming recruiting the villains. I think it's kind of funny. It's kind of cheeky. It's a decent setup. And had they just kind of focused on that part of the narrative, that could have been interesting, kind of the flip of that first movie, with Shrek's character, and now it's the villains and their turn and all that stuff. It's kind of weird because I actually think the idea of recruiting all these other characters from fairy tales might have worked better with Rumpelstiltskin in the fourth film. And also, I already want to address it. Rumpelstiltskin is in this movie, and then it goes on to become the villain of the fourth movie, and is completely redesigned and voiced by a different actor. So
I kind of wish, mostly because it's clearly shown that Prince Charming only works as like a secondary villain that's kind of like worked on with strings. Like Fairy Godmother like was in control of him pretty much. So they try to put a spotlight on him, and it just doesn't work. I don't know. He's just not. He's too pathetic. But he's also like Farquaad's pathetic too, but in a different way. Like there still seemed like there was a threat to Farquaad. Prince Charming, it just seems like there's like no kind of like stake at hand with him as the villain. I just don't buy into it. I kind of wish they just built on Rumpelstiltskin in that one, and I would have been fine if they just continued it in the fourth one. I don't know how you would do it, but like have someone be the main focus and have Prince Charming still kind of like maybe being worked over. I don't know.
I don't buy that Prince Charming could easily convince all of these villainous characters to so easily support him as the king.
Yeah, because he's never that kind of character, and that's all Godmother. She's the manipulative one.
Yeah, she's the one pulling the strings, like you said. He's just kind of the joke. Yeah. He's the bohunk. He's the dumb, attractive guy. And might I add, his hair in this movie is extremely well animated. I just want to point that out. Again, the animation does not take a dip in this movie. I think maybe some of the not even stunts because it's animated, some of the fight choreography is oddly weaker than the last two films. I just think that the way that the animation looked in the first two, when it came to like animating the fight sequences, it was just a little bit more interesting visually and a little bit cleaner. In this one, it doesn't look bad like on an animation quality level, but it just wasn't as well choreographed. I don't know, they were just kind of forgettable. But no,
and the thing is, like with animation, I can't even give that any credit because it's not even like it's like stellar animation. It's just like the animation just isn't bad. It's just, you have money, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be good.
When was Kung Fu Panda 2? Was that 2010 as well?
Maybe 2011, but yeah, around.
Even if it came out just a year after, I think from what I remember, it was just 2-3 weeks ago. But Kung Fu Panda 2 had way better of a visual style and flair than this third Shrek film.
Well, no, the first Kung Fu Panda came out after Shrek 3.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was 2008. Yeah. Okay, but even that, I think even that first Kung Fu Panda, only a year after, also probably had a more iconic visual style. It's not, and I don't want to say lazy because I already highlighted the fact of how much manpower it took.
I know.
Oftentimes when I'm criticizing animation, I am not criticizing the actual animators. I'm criticizing the producers and people above them who are too cheap and too lazy to take the time and pay them the appropriate amount of money. And again, the animation in this film doesn't look bad. It's more so probably an issue with them not taking the time to storyboard it properly, or at least not conceptually coming up with as many cool visual setups as those first two movies.
Yeah, like I feel like the artistic direction isn't there. Like
there you go. Yeah,
the talent, I guess, is there to animate it properly, but there's just not as much like style brought into it.
There's less like purpose and intent in the visuals as a whole. Like there's just so many scenes from those first two films that like you can just visualize in your head. Whereas I just watched this movie yesterday, and there's not like a single scene in the entire film that like stands out in my head as like a visual piece of iconography. It just kind of, it was very much in one ear and out the other. It's like just one of those kind of films where I'm still thinking about Shrek 1 and 2 and just how much I enjoyed rewatching them and revisiting them, even after how many times I've seen both of them. Whereas Shrek 3, I don't really see a purpose in watching this third film ever again, in my opinion.
Who's the worst character in this movie? Ooh. Is it Merlin?
Merlin's kind of funny.
I fucking hate Merlin.
He's just I like how they just make him like a crazy old person. He's just
like,
walking around going bzz, 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 I'm a baby.
Oh, he's just so annoying.
No, I think Artie is the worst character. Oh, that brings me to one of my notes. One of my things is, oh man, even the absolute nerds. Oh, you want to talk about genuinely funny moments? One of the times, maybe one of the only times I genuinely laughed while watching it yesterday was when you first get to this. It's like, I don't know if it's supposed to be a high school or a college. I think it's supposed to be like a high school, and you know, there's a lot of jokes in that are like very much aimed towards younger people. A lot of the jokes, I think Josh already highlighted this, but a lot of the jokes and humor are very sanitized in this movie compared to the first two. There's not as many like edgy adult jokes that seep their way into the film. Like in the second movie, there's straight up an O.J. Simpson joke. In this third film, a lot of the humor just feels really dumbed down and like simplified. So that was also an issue. But they get
Donkey went to college. Let's not forget that.
Donkey is...
He mentions his college days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a little fun fact there.
I actually forgot about that. Oh, one of the jokes when they first arrive at the high school is, and I'm probably going to butcher this myself, but it's called Worcester. I can't say it.
I know. I refuse to even try to say it.
Worcester. I think that's how you say it. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of a funny joke. They're messing up pronouncing it. It's kind of a play on the sauce or whatever. And then they immediately ruin the joke because Donkey goes, oh, like the sauce? And I was like, all right, no, you just got way too self-aware right there. But no, one moment I actually genuinely laughed is Shrek is going around this high school. He's looking for Artie, trying to find him or whatnot. And he runs across these like absolute like very surface level nerds. Like they got the braces, the headgear, they sound dorky, and they start trying to bully Shrek. And the one nerdy guy, he like laughs. He goes, and then he immediately gets a nosebleed. And I don't know why, but I thought that was the funniest thing I had seen the entire throughout the entire movie. I just it got me belly laughing. There was the one genuine laugh. The one was the nosebleed.
I don't think I got any of those.
No.
Sadly.
I don't know.
Nah.
The rest of it is very dumb, and you're usually laughing at the movie. Which brings me to, I had mentioned before we started recording, and you wanted me to let you know. So there's one joke that like straight up doesn't make sense. And it's another little subplot that me and Josh didn't bring up because, again, this movie, it tries to pack all four Shrek movies are 90 minutes long. They're all very short, very kind of in and out movies. But this one just packs the film with so much shit that it feels longer than it actually is. One of the subplots is that about an hour into the movie, they introduce a body swap subplot between Donkey and Puss in Boots. Again, like an hour into the movie. There's 30 minutes left. Probably only 20 to 25 if you don't count the credits. And we're now introducing a body swap subplot. And it leads to one of the dumbest jokes in the movie that makes no fucking sense. So they swap bodies. And Donkey, inside of Puss in Boots' body now, starts freaking out and says, "Oh, I feel so naked. Why don't you have any pants on?" Donkey, you don't wear any fucking clothes normally.
I had the same exact thought. I was like thinking of it. I was like, wait, Donkey's bare ass all the time too. Actually, Puss has more clothing than him.
Yeah. It was at that moment. I was like, what?
I think I was like, then I was like, well, maybe because Donkey walks on all fours, Puss is walking like upright, so you see his underbelly. That could be why. But I was still like, he still has more clothing than you, Donkey. Like,
but does he not make no, it doesn't make any sense. There's no defending that. It's a dumb joke that makes no fucking sense, and I don't care if it's a kids movie. The joke can be dumb and low hanging. At least make it make any fucking sense.
And you had more? Or was that the one that didn't make sense?
There was that one. I feel like there was another one that really stood out. I must have forgot to write it down. I remember there being another one that like stood out in my head, but again, like I said, this movie is in one ear out the other. So it was one of my notes that kind of stands out, and because you asked me who I thought the worst character was, is Artie. When you first get there, you realize that everybody bullies Artie, and it's not a good joke, but it did get me to like do like a half-hearted chuckle, and it's Shrek thinks that the jousting team is the people who strung up Artie while they're having the school assembly. And he goes, "It wasn't me." And then he points, and you find out that it was the two super nerdy kids that you saw earlier, the one that got the nosebleed. They're the ones that strung Artie up. So you get the vibe, like even because he's like, "Oh, please don't eat me, Shrek," and everybody in the gymnasium starts chanting, "Eat him, eat him," even the principal who's holding the thing. So you get the vibe that like everybody hates Artie. And my first note was, "Oh yeah, I kind of feel bad, man. Everybody hates Artie." And then Artie finds out he's going to become king, and then makes the cringiest, most uncomfortable speech to his classmates that made me just want to crawl into a hole and die. And he makes that speech, and then my next following note was, okay, no, even I want to kick his ass now. And so, yeah.
I forget what he says in the speech. Like, what was the like?
So
or what was
first
one
off,
of the
it
lines
starts
that he
out.
says?
It starts out like very school shooterish, where he's like, "This is a lesson for all of you that next time you want to bully somebody, maybe they might become king one day, and their first decree might be to banish everybody that ever was mean to him." And then he starts like addressing this like girl. I forget her name, Gwanda or something like that, or whatever. He calls her out and he goes, "I've always loved you." And it's like, dude. No.
I don't remember that.
It's so everything he says, and I don't know why, and I don't hate him, but something about Justin Timberlake's voice in this movie, because I don't know if we said that, but Justin Timberlake voices Artie. It just
a lot of people
me.
hate it. A lot of people hate it.
I cannot stand it. And that's not, again, I like his music, and he's one of my favorite parts of The Social Network, but just his voice in this movie, it rubbed me the wrong way in every single scene. It's like, I haven't been this mad at a character in a movie since like Dylan in Halloween Town. That first one specifically, but anyway. Why? Who do you think is the worst character?
No, I don't like Merlin. I just think he's like,
he's not in it enough.
Exactly, but he's in it enough to piss me off. Where it's like, this guy is such a throw-in character.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I mean, at least they give Artie a little purpose. You know, they do have him in the scene with Shrek. That's probably like the highlight scene of the movie, where they're like talking around the campfire. It's probably like the only fine scene in the movie. But why does Shrek overcomplicate this fucking journey when he like finds Artie? Why doesn't he just tell him straight up how everything's going down? Like, I don't get like the whole complicating it to like lie and say like you're the next in line, or you're the heir to the throne. Just fucking tell him that you don't want to do it. I don't know why. But also,
yeah.
Why does Artie give a shit so much that he lied to him about that? Who cares? Okay, yeah, but I'm giving it to you, like, because it's like at the end.
Because it's the first time probably in Artie's life that he was like, he felt like he was wanted, I guess. Not even wanted. I don't know what the right word is, but like, it was the first time in his life where it was like, oh, like, I'm meant to be something, and now he doesn't feel like he's meant to be something. Now he feels like the second choice again.
But it's not even like Shrek is wanted to be king. He's just like next in line just because that's how it is.
Yeah, he's also a terrible king at first, which is not a great sequence to open the film with. Oh, fun fact, this is the only Shrek movie not to start with a storybook opening.
Yeah, I did see that. I read that.
Oh, wait, I wanted to ask you, because you had said that this has like the most egregious use of licensed music out of the entire franchise. Which scene?
When they're like breaking into the castle, and it just starts playing Immigrant Song.
Oh yeah.
And then at like 5 seconds of the song play, and they're like singing it, which is, it sounds fucking awful, but they open the gate and it just transitions to Barracuda, and I'm just like, what is that? What?
I don't even think it's the original Barracuda. I think it's the Fergie cover.
Oh my god, it was so awful. I didn't understand it. Like, oh my god, it just pissed me off. That just like set me off.
The second you started talking about it, I knew exactly what you're talking about.
Why did they change it?
I had noted.
It's one thing to use the song that I don't think fits anyway.
Yeah.
But why cut it and just go to another? Like, you're just like hammering songs for no reason. At least there was like purpose.
You know what
like
it reminded me of? It reminded me of how many needle drops there were in the Fear Street movies. Like there's that sequence in that first Fear Street one where they're on the bus and they do like 3 needle drops in like a 60-second span.
Oh.
No, I had noted that down. I was like, no way did they just go in from Immigrant Song straight into Barracuda with like it's like, guys, if you haven't seen the movie in a while and you're still listening, it like directly goes from Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin into the Fergie version of Barracuda. Like,
almost
no
like
segue.
Yeah, and it's not like they sound the same, but they kind of like play it off like this is the same song, because it's just like it just transitions into like the melody of Barracuda.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was so fucking out of place. Yeah, it was just dumb.
Oh, you know a scene that I really hate? I hated the Shrek baby nightmare scene.
Yeah. I thought that was real at first, so I was like writing so many notes of, okay, Shrek's dancing in front of his swamp. This is like immediately out of character. Then once I realized it was dream, I was like, all right, fine. I don't have to like criticize that. But still, it just felt like...
Wait, how did you thought it was real at first? The scene starts with him on the boat landing in his swamp. Like the boat lands in the swamp and he hops off.
I didn't know. I just didn't. I was like, this stinks. So I don't know what we're doing right now. I think I just
thought it was kind
forgot.
of creepy at first when the baby stroller just like rolls out for like the first second. I was like, this is weirdly... Oh, you want to talk about something that's weirdly creepy? And it's actually funny because in the fourth one, they actually make a joke in reference to it. So much so that I was like, I'm feeling like I'm in the Matrix again, because it was too coincidental, because it was one of my like big notes when watching the third one. The Shrek... Or not Shrek. The donkey dragon babies are horrifying to look at. And then in the fourth one, Donkey makes a joke where he's like, "Wait, I got dragon babies? Are they cute, or do they make everybody uncomfortable to look at?" I was like, no fucking way did they reference that. Yeah, those. But yeah, no, the nightmare sequence with Shrek and the babies. It just felt like a really lazy way to explore the themes of him being afraid and worried about being a father. I don't know. I just think they could have handled that a lot better. And I get that the whole like setup between Shrek and Artie's dynamic is Shrek taking that parental role over and kind of acting like a father towards Artie, but it's just not given enough focus, because then it just, every time you're getting a little bit more development with Shrek and Artie, it just kind of cuts back over to Prince Charming trying to take over Far, Far Away. And also that is an extremely rushed plot as well, because I think it's it's either 2 or 3 quick scenes after Prince Charming goes to that bar and recruits the group of villains, and then a scene or two later, they're immediately invading far, far away, and they take it over, like just like that. And it's, I don't know.
And his whole scheme is to like he just can't wait to put on this play where he kills Shrek in it. I don't know. Like the play integration was just,
yeah.
It didn't add anything for me. It was just like, this is so like just such a watered down villain. I'm getting nothing from Charming. So yeah, I don't know. And again, with like kind of building on Shrek's fears of being a father, when Merlin's doing his like little campfire thing, I don't know. There's nothing creative about showing his internal struggle or his fear about it. They just like show like the baby carriage. Everything just feels so obvious, and just, I don't know. I don't get enough from it. It just feels very lazy. Like the whole movie is just lazily written.
Yeah, and that's kind of going back to what we were saying, where it's not. We don't want to say that there was no effort put into this production, as obviously we highlighted, through the trivia facts and whatnot, that there was a lot of effort put into the animation and whatnot, and like we said, it does look good. It's not like a Kung Fu Panda 4 situation where there's like a really drastic dip in how the film looks, and a big part of that was just like the decrease in budget. But when it comes to just the writing in this movie, whether it's the character development, whether it's the themes that they explore, whether it's the humor, all of it does just feel. It doesn't even always feel lazy. Like, it does feel low hanging and kind of low brow at certain points. And not that Shrek was ever like this highbrow, super artsy written film, but there was always a bit of edge to it. And you remove that edge, you kind of underbake a lot of the stuff that you're going for in this movie. And again, going back to my biggest flaw that really just drags this entire film down, is you have a 90-minute film that is taking all of these plots, all of these different subplots, and just trying to cram it all into a 90-minute runtime, and it just doesn't work. It just makes the entire experience feel very incoherent. Just, it lacks a lot of cohesion, and a lot of the elements just don't tie in together. And that's why what I kind of brought up earlier, where I was like, the idea of taking all of these villains and villainous characters from all these different fairy tales, I think that actually works a lot better if you kind of move that little portion over into the fourth film, because that's Rumpelstiltskin's whole thing. Whereas I feel like Prince Charming, I don't know, you weren't even really a villain in the first movie or in the second film. Your mother did all the work. She did all the heavy lifting. She was the most interesting part. You were just kind of the comedic, side partner who was just, you were fun to laugh at. And again, I don't want to say that you can't take a character that initially seems pathetic and weak and not make them an intimidating force. I think one of my favorite villains in an animated film, and one of my favorite animated films, period, is Across the Spider-Verse. And that film starts out with this character, the Spot, and he is just like this pathetic, not even D-list villain that nobody gives a shit about, nobody takes seriously, including our main characters. And spoiler alert for that film if you haven't seen it, but by the end of that film, making that character really intimidating and threatening. It was a really creative and unique way to take a villain, and it's still a kid's film. It's still a kid's animated film. You could have done that with Shrek the Third, but they really don't do any service, and they don't do any of the legwork in taking Prince Charming and actually making him a formidable foe. And it just, I don't know. The whole film just feels like it's too cluttered, it's too messy, and it just doesn't have what makes those first two Shrek films work. It doesn't have any of that.
Yeah. And I want to kind of trace back to what you were saying about the you hate how easy it is for Prince Charming to recruit them at the bar. At the end, oh my God, you want to talk about a quick resolution? Fucking Artie just immediately just changing the spirit of every single villain that's been a villain for God knows how long. He just gives like this fucking speech of what the fuck does he even say? I don't know. I forgot about it. It's just like
couldn't tell you. In one ear, out the other.
It's probably just like accepting yourself and like following your. Oh, it was like following your dreams, because then Hook talks about like he wants to be a pianist, which when they try to capture them and they have this full blown attack, Hook does none of it. He just breaks out a piano and starts playing like a theme song for the fight. Just weird stuff.
Did you like Donkey's joke in that scene where he goes, "Oh no, they got a piano"?
I didn't even catch it. I didn't like. But yeah, it's just one little monologue from Artie that just completely changes the minds of everybody. It's just that is lazy. That is completely lazy and just unbelievable.
Yeah, and again, like it just with like the laziness, it's you have that element of not feeling like they put their best foot forward when it came to the creative decisions and the writing process. But then you combine that with them trying to tackle so many different characters, and you get a lot of new characters too. You don't just get the returning characters and fan favorites, and then you got your Shreks and Fionas, and then you bring back Charming and everything. But now you have all of these princess characters as like a big subplot of the movie is when Charming attacks Fiona and her quote unquote friend group, which is like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty and what's the one with the long hair? Rapunzel. Yeah. Rapunzel, let down thy extensions. Which was an odd joke in the film. But yeah, you get that little subplot, and you get this weird scene where Fiona's mother, when they're like locked in the cell to try and escape, the mother, she like headbutts the wall.
Oh my god,
she's like powerful enough to
Dude, I fucking wrote that down in my notes. That's another like just small part. I was like, now Lillian's just breaking brick walls down with her head.
Yeah,
like, what is this?
I don't know.
It took Shrek like 3 to 5 shoulder blocks to his swamp to break it down, but she could just like one headbutt into a brick wall. Just like, I don't know.
I wrote down in one of my notes that another really weird scene, but that Gingy is super unhinged in this movie because when Prince Charming like busts in and they're looking for Shrek and Fiona, who have already, Shrek has already gone on the journey and Fiona has already escaped with the other princesses, but he asked Gingy where they are. And for some reason, Gingy has like a Vietnam War PTSD flashback type sequence where he you see his memories and he like relives his entire life and it like flashes before his eyes, even though he's like not about to be killed, which was I guess a fun little returning cameo from Farquaad as they kind of reused one of the scenes in the first one. And I guess at some point Gingy had a wife, so yeah. I guess if you do want character development, I guess that is something that's a thing that happens, so that's fun. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have many thoughts left on the film.
Me neither.
It's just a very muddled film, in my opinion. The story is just very incoherent. It's all over the place. It doesn't really explore its themes well, and it just really lacks that kind of edge and charisma of those first two Shrek films. It's and unlike Kung Fu Panda 3 and 4, we are with the majority on this one. It doesn't seem like many people are big fans of Shrek the Third. A lot of people kind of seem to share the same sentiment with us that it's a very big dip in quality. Again, I don't want to blame the animators. I know that they work under very strenuous and often terrible conditions and are forced to hit crazy unrealistic deadlines. I don't think it's their fault. Obviously, we pointed out how much work it took them to make this film. It's really just the people making the creative decisions where a lot of this movie suffers. But I don't know. Those are all my thoughts. I don't know what you have left.
Trying to think of how this movie ends. What happens with Prince Charming? It just
becomes king, I guess.
No, like at the very end, like once the reform happens after Artie's speech, what happens with him? Does he just get locked up?
Artie?
No, Charming.
Oh, okay. You said Artie. I was like, he becomes king.
after Artie's speech. Oh,
What
did I say
happens
Artie
to
even
Charming?
before that?
Yeah. You said Artie. That's what confused me. Unless when I listen to this playback and I just misheard, I guess we'll find out. Honestly, why am I just like, oh God. That was the problem with watching this and the fourth one back to back is they're just starting to like kind of blur together.
Yeah, I can't remember what actually happens to Charlie.
I guess that's a testament to the movie. It's just a very forgettable experience.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, yeah, I don't have many notes. This movie, even when it was trying to like we said, just kind of emphasize its humor. There's nothing in it that I laughed at. There was no moments of like writing where I was like, oh yeah, that's a well written line. You could have maybe grabbed one or two that I couldn't even tell you, but yeah, I don't really think I have anything else. I mean, Puss in Boots has like a fucking like 100 different cats that you see. He's like a ladies' man apparently.
I think this film severely lacked the presence of the director of the first two. What was his name? Andrew Adamson. Yeah, Andrew Adamson did the first two Shreks, and I think his presence in the direction was really, really missed in this.
Yeah.
This feels like the Shrek movie that you anticipated the first one would be. Also, that was a fact that somehow me and Josh completely forgot to bring up when discussing the first Shrek film in the last episode, and I know our audience would be upset for not bringing it up, but in the first one, a lot of the animators who ended up working on Shrek were originally working on Prince of Egypt, and if you would make a mistake or fuck up working on Prince of Egypt, they would send you to work on Shrek, and it was considered like a negative thing, and they ended up calling it getting Shreked instead of getting fired.
Wow.
Yeah, so, which, again, Prince of Egypt is an amazing movie. I really like that one. One I've actually been meaning to revisit, but I definitely don't think that has as much of a pop culture mainstay as Shrek has been. So,
never seen it.
Oh, you've never seen Prince of Egypt?
Mm-mm.
Ooh,
nah.
Brother.
Yeah.
You have not lived. No, it's not that serious. It's good. I like it. But yeah, shall we move on to the next Shrek film?
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you for holding during that brief commercial break. And if you're listening, there probably was no commercial. It usually just segues, but it sounds nicer. So we're back from the commercial break. But we are discussing Shrek 4. That'll be the last film we are talking about this episode. As I mentioned at the beginning, tune in next episode where we talk about both Puss in Boots movies to end our Shrek franchise deep dive. And then check with us back maybe December 2026 or January 2027 if we're still doing this, because then we'll maybe talk about Shrek 5. We'll see. I don't know. See where it goes. But this one is directed by Mike Mitchell, released in 2010. Budget of between 135 mil or 165 mil. So 30 mil unaccounted for there. Box office of 756.2 mil, which is a little bit less than the last one, and a Rotten Tomato score of 58%, which is better than Shrek the Third. And I'll lend my hand a little early. Yeah, I think it's slightly better than Shrek the Third.
Honestly, it felt like a little bit more than slightly better. And maybe because I really didn't like Shrek 3, that like I really just didn't like it a lot. I don't know. This felt better, like considerably better, and that could be a stretch. I don't know, but yeah, I have no history with Back to the Future 2. I mean Shrek 4. All right, so that was me. This basically plays on like a similar plot as Back to the Future 2. That was my joke there.
Back to the Future 2 and just every
movie that. I've seen.
It's not even Back
Click.
to the Future. It's more like
sure it is. It's like Click, Adam Sandler. All those
like
movies
Click.
where it's like, yeah,
like what your life would have been like had you made
more
this
Back to the Future
decision,
too, with like the alternate universe and shit like that. Like it's.
I got
don't
like
know.
Christmas Carol vibes, kind of like, oh, this
Really?
is what you're. Yeah, well, just like the whole like this is what life would be like if you didn't, do this thing.
I guess I don't know. I
It's
was
a
really getting
Wonderful
Back to the
Life.
Future too, like a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe because like just seeing like Fiona in like a completely different surrounding, kind of like him seeing his mom in like a completely, I don't know, it just felt very like.
I have issues with Back to the Future too. Not as many issues as I have with this movie though.
Good. That makes me feel a little better. But yeah, it's a Click. Yeah, just so this is well,
Click's
let's just read it.
sad.
We could just whatever. It's I don't know. I don't think it has a right
I don't
to be
think Click
sad.
is a good movie, but I think Click is a sad movie. And kids should
yeah.
not watch it. It's not for kids.
Wow,
Yeah,
I fucking looked up Click, and I was about to read the synopsis for Click when I was trying to pull up Shrek 4.
I have the one for Shrek, which if my internet would fucking work, but that seems to be too difficult. This is the realities of podcasting, guys. Things don't work the way you need to. All right, I got it. Rumpelstiltskin tricks a midlife crisis-burdened Shrek into allowing himself to be erased from existence and cast in a dark alternate timeline where Rumpelstiltskin rules supreme.
Yeah, he's Biff. He's like Biff.
Yeah, that fucking sports almanac. I like how the setup of that movie is not anything crazy getting changed, just that Biff is able to accurately sports bet for the next 20 years. But yeah, like me and Josh kind of already harped on, I'd say the biggest fault of this movie is that, and not to say that the first Shrek was super groundbreaking in its plot. A lot of the fun and charm of that really comes from the characters' personalities and them sort of playing on the tropes of fairy tales. This is a very cliched and overused plot setup in a lot of films, like time travel movies. Those, I don't even know they're not really time travel movies, but those Christmas Carol type films where it's like, oh, here's what your life would have been like. How do you? They do it in an episode of Family Guy when Death is showing Peter Griffin like what his life would be like if he had never started drinking or
and it's not even like that's like off limits. It's not like you can't take that plot device ever and make it work. I'm sure I could see a movie in the next 10 years that takes that same thing and it's just a really good movie. Like it's not like it's not allowed, but this one just feels mimicky kind of, and it doesn't feel like as, I don't know. It feels kind of like, well, first off, the point of Shrek was to kind of be in its own area of like originality and kind of like defy like what we've already seen. And this just kind of eliminates that whole thing that it built itself on, that whole foundation, because it plays a lot of the same beats, and it just plays into the tropes more, rather than making fun of them. Like the whole, when he has to make Fiona fall in love with him and he has till like sunrise to do it. I don't know. I'm immediately kind of like, okay, you're already kind of expecting how this is going to end. You're never like at any point in this movie wondering, oh, are they going to like shock me in any way? You have it all figured out because you've just seen it so many times. So there was no like, there never felt like there was any element of surprise in this. And that's kind of like what Shrek did. It surprised you here and there in like what it did, even if it was, not that you can't predict like the end of things, but this one I was predicting like every single moment, it felt like.
Yeah.
So
every kind of, it's not just predicting where the story's going to end up, but it's a predictable film in the sense of where kind of all of the story and emotional beats are going to hit.
Yeah.
It never catches you off guard or kind of throws a curveball your way. And like you said, not to say that the first and, by extension, in my opinion, the second Shrek film, it's not like they're the most innovative and creatively written scripts of all time. It's not that like they're breaking a ton of new ground. Again, more so, it's just a lot of playing on those tropes, whereas it doesn't really feel like this film is in line with that. And like you had kind of pointed out, they kind of get rid of a lot of what we've come to know and expect. And a part of that is also the characters in this movie. Because one of the things that I had kind of highlighted as an enjoyable little character moment in that first Shrek movie was when he tries to scare Donkey for the first time. It's like during their first encounter, and Donkey just isn't scared. And Shrek kind of has this little one-word response and a little facial reaction where it's like, oh, I'm used to everybody being afraid of me and not wanting to be around me. And obviously as the film, progresses, not to, be too on the nose, but the layers of his character are kind of broken down and you get a sense of why he is the way he is. And then in this film, the setup essentially starts and the plot is kicked off because not just because Shrek is at a stressful point in his life. He has three daughters. He has triplets. He's, married now. Everybody, treats him differently. It's not because of that. It's mainly because he's mad and upset that nobody treats him like an ogre anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but the point of the first movie is, and his character is, everybody always treated him like an ogre. And he finally met somebody who accepted him for who he was. And he met multiple people in that movie who accepted him for who he was. The character writing makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, because that was my main note I had of this, is that it starts off not making sense and just kind of eliminating everything we got from his character in the first movie. He hates that everyone judges him. He even says they judge me before they get to know me. They're scared of me, and he's not even like he doesn't want to be scary. He doesn't want to be violent. He just wants to be like, live a peaceful life. And this one, he has it, and now he wants what he never wanted, but he acts like he wanted it. And it's like, okay, I know what it's trying to do. It's just trying to be like, well, that we're not eliminating that. It's just he's at this point in his life of redundancy, that he's just at a crisis, and he feels like he wants it, and he learns quickly that he doesn't want it. But it's just like, I don't know, it just doesn't work, because he needs to at some point have like been kind of in like his glory days that he wants back, but those weren't his glory days. He was like
miserable.
He was depressed in that moment.
He was the epitome in that first movie of the person who acts like a villain because everybody expects them to be a villain. And
that, honestly, that was one of the better lines in Shrek 3 when he's talking to Artie, when he says, people can have their judgments of you. They did for me for a while. Mm-hmm. And he tells him, for a while, I started to believe it because I heard it so much. That's actually a good line. That was a good moment in Shrek 3. It's too bad that it was like the only line. But but it constantly plays on that. And then Shrek 4 it's just kind of abolished. It's just forgotten about. So and I'm already not buying into the plot. I'm not buying into like what's catapulting this plot.
Well, not only does it not make sense logistically for his character, and it's just not what we've already been shown to be his reasons why he is the way he is, but it also just it also doesn't end up mattering because he gets tricked, right? It's not like you're expecting when you go into this movie and you kind of know the setup of the film. You expect it to be like, oh, he is so miserable in life that Rumpelstiltskin offers him the opportunity to go back to the way things were, and then he's going to learn that life is miserable without his daughters and Fiona and all of his friends. But that's not what happens. He gets tricked because he thinks he's just getting like a one-day vacation. And then you're like, all right, well, I guess that's not that bad of a thing. He's, he's stupid and he doesn't read the contract, and he just offers Rumpelstiltskin a day from his childhood, quote unquote, and Rumpelstiltskin ends up taking the day he was born, which doesn't make sense, which also just doesn't make sense. So okay, I'm just trying to understand the plot of this movie for a second, because
let's talk about it, because maybe we need to understand it together.
Well, so if he takes the day that Shrek was born, then the assumption is that every day after that would still happen as if Shrek existed. That's like the implication when he's talking to Shrek, is whatever day you give me, it's just going to be that day. I don't understand this.
Well, no,
movie.
he doesn't say that your other days prior, like, or
well, then Shrek's just a fucking idiot for signing this contract. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But like, going back to like my initial point is like, the setup is not what you expect it to be, because again, Shrek all he thinks is, oh, I'm just getting a one-day vacation, I'm just gonna get away from things and yada yada. When if you're trying to explore the themes of him having this midlife crisis and the whole, oh, the good old days were better kind of mentality, when in reality everything he needs is in front of him, if you're going to do that, make it so that he makes the choice to give all of that up for his old life. But he doesn't.
Yeah. Just one day vacation.
The inciting choice just doesn't align with the thematic message of this movie. And then you cut to towards the end of the film when he has this corny ass line where he's like, the only good part of this is that I got to fall in love with you all over again, which, I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent, but leads me into another fucking issue, which is, okay, if Shrek never existed, I guess the retcon thing, they do like a fucking Scream 3 thing. The retcon thing is that there was this almost other contract that Fiona's parents signed with Rumpelstiltskin. So what happened to Farquaad? And would Farquaad have never sent a different knight to go and get Fiona?
Yeah, it gets messy, doesn't it? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like I understand that, like, when you do like time travel or alternate timeline stuff, things are gonna get a little bit messy.
Yeah,
but
you kind of have to accept some like things that don't make sense.
I just think there's other films that at least set up and establish the rules of the time travel / alternate timeline shit. I think they set it up and handle it a little bit better than this one does. I don't want to be thinking about that stuff when I'm watching the movie. And when they do this thing where they throw Fiona in as the leader of this ogre rebellion, which, okay, so now there's just a bunch of ogres. Where were all these ogres in the last 2 movies? They seem like that would be a plot point. You know, Shrek being around other ogres, finding his people. I don't know. Seems like a thing. Instead, there's this underground rebellion of ogres that Fiona leaves now. And, like, I get what they were trying to set up with her character, but it just does not align with the events of the previous movie.
So, kind of going back to, like, he takes the day that he was born, like the day that he was brought into the world, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't eliminate the pregnancy, right? Like, the mom is still pregnant with him, so where does that leave?
Oh, my assumption was that Rumpelstiltskin caused a miscarriage.
Oh, yeah, okay, that works. That works.
It's dark.
But
I'm
how?
not laughing, but that's dark.
But how does he do that?
A magic miscarriage. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't even say it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know.
I also really thought that it was going to be the whole, instead of taking away the day that he was born, I thought it was going to be, oh, like, I'm going to take the day that you saved Fiona from the tower. I thought that was going to be, like, because, again, I'd never seen Shrek 4. So I was like, oh, that's going to be what happens is he takes away the day he never saved Fiona and yada, yada. I genuinely also thought that, like, it was going to be a human Fiona and she was going to be married to Farquaad. I thought that was what was going to happen. Instead,
well, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work either, though. Because what would happen on the quest? He's still on the quest. It's just that quest was like however long. It was definitely days.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. All right. So none of it. All right. That wouldn't work. Right.
So the one day you really got, I don't know what, I guess the day he was born works.
You have to be really stupid on Shrek's part to be like, all right, just take literally any day from my childhood. Whatever day you want, take that day.
The thing is, though, he asks him, he says, give me a day. Why wouldn't you just give him a day? Why would you let him pick a day?
Pick last Thursday. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, oh, man. Anyway, the beginning, he goes through this, this little montage of him going through the same motions, yada, yada, yada. What really bothered me was a small part. Just another character moment that didn't make sense, but it's very slight. When the baby shits a lot, Shrek is like really disgusted when he smells the diaper. But don't they love that shit? Literally,
they have gone out of their way in the last like 3 films to point out that Shrek and ogres by extension are disgusting, and like he bathes in mud. In the first movie, he bathes in mud. I don't.
And the third one, they wake up to each other, and Fiona says morning breath, and he says, "Oh, isn't it great?" Like they like the smell of awful things. So why is he
that
disgusted?
in the third one, or is that at the beginning of this one?
Oh, maybe it's this one. I can't remember. I thought it was the third one.
They're blurring together, and that's why I don't particularly agree. I do think that this is a little bit better than the last film, and the main reason for that, in my opinion, is a couple of the jokes are a little funnier. I think the humor is a little bit better than the third film, and also it is a more focused plot line. than the last one. It has a little bit less going on story-wise, so it feels a little bit more coherent in its execution. That's really it. It's just like slightly better humor and a more concise plot. But in terms of like the overall character writing and what it adds to the lore and the world of Shrek, to me, it doesn't do much at all. And I don't know. I don't really like Rumpelstiltskin that much as a villain. He's kind of entertaining, but
I like him a lot more than Prince Charming. So I think that was a big, not a big thing, but that elevated this movie. Is that I feel like I got like a real villain compared to Charming. Doesn't hold the candle to the first two villains, but
yeah,
he's engaging, and he's like he's entertaining and fun, I guess. So I don't know. There's a little bit to him compared, but
a little bit of screen presence than Charming.
Let me tell you, those fucking that waffle trap looked really delicious. I'd fall for that. I'd fall for that if I was
Animated
Donkey.
Waffles do always look scrumptious. You get the little bit of that syrup on it, and
yeah. So how do you like the underground ogre army?
Again, it's kind of similar to how I felt about a lot of the third film. I like the idea and I understand what they're going for, but it's the execution that really falls flat for me. The kind of ogre army felt very reminiscent of Kung Fu Panda 3. I understand that this came out before. Wait, when did Shrek 4 come out? 2010? Yeah, so Shrek 4 did come out before Kung Fu Panda 3, but the whole execution of like the ogre army felt very similar to like the village of pandas in that film. It just didn't, I don't know, it didn't, like you said, you can really just predict where all of the plot and story beats and character beats are going to land, so none of it felt surprising. None of it felt that interesting, or it just didn't hit for me. I don't know. Do you like it?
I'll say this. I enjoyed this one much more than the third one. Like even just like how much fun I was having with it. Like I never felt bored that much with this one, and I think it was because I was just so upset with the third one that this one just felt like a little like fresh air hitting me. But yeah, when they get like captured and locked up, and Shrek has his like epiphany of like, oh, I'm just gonna be like the real hero and just save all the ogres. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I get it. That's the real act that's gonna make her fall in love with you, and I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying when she's holding him and he's like dying. I'm just like, you're not fooling me here. I'm not like, I just know what's gonna happen 20 minutes ago. It's just, I don't know. And let's stop acting like Shrek doesn't want her to kiss him right then and there. Like, Shrek knows damn well you just did the act that made her fall in love with you. Stop acting coy, okay? You know what you're fucking doing. Just try again, okay? Don't just say, yeah, I'm accepting death kind of thing.
The issue with the climax of this movie is this is now the third time in 4 Shrek movies where the climax and the main plot is solved by true love's kiss. It happens in the first one, and then it happens in the second one, and then it happens in this one, and it's like, all right, first time, fine. Second time, I'm good. Third time, you need to chill the fuck out. Like, do something. And that just goes back to the predictability and just the staleness. Like, again, I do think this is better and more enjoyable. I agree. I had a better time watching this than I did Shrek the Third. And maybe it's just because it was an easier film to follow, and because it was more concise in the storytelling, it moved along a lot quicker. Shrek the Third was just all over the place with its characters and its story. This one, even though it's a cliche setup and they don't really do anything that new or exciting with the whole alternate timeline setup and story, even though it's not really new or interesting, it is kind of, it's a cliche for a reason, and it's because usually it's engaging enough to at least hold your interest. And that's what I can say for this film is it's not horrible. It doesn't have as many egregious writing choices as that third Shrek film does, but it just still falls so flat of those first two, whether it's the villain, whether it's just the humor, or the animation looks good again, and I would hope with $130+ million budget, possibly 165. We're not very sure. I think with that budget, I would hope the animation would look nice. Except for there's one shot, and it's the first shot of the movie I think looks fucking horrible. It's like the horses galloping, and it's like the opening shot of the movie. And at first I was like, oh no, is this a Kung Fu Panda 4 situation? And then it immediately got better from there. But yeah, even though the animation looks great, I just don't think there's as many visual, gags and as much visual flair in the presentation as those first two movies. I don't know. I wish I had more. Let me look through my notes, obviously.
Yeah, I had more notes for the third one, which is funny because I just had more shit to say. The fourth one, I didn't really have that many positive or negative things to say. I just kind of had a fun time with it.
One of my notes is, oh yay, again with the licensed music.
I don't remember any specific part that took me out of it.
It's not as egregious as the whole Led Zeppelin Barracuda thing from the third film, but again, there was just scenes in this where I didn't even write down the song that they were playing, but I don't know, something about the way that the Shrek films have used the music outside of maybe the first one, it just, I don't know, it just takes me out of the experience every time. And all I can do is think back to the Kung Fu Panda movies, especially those first two, where every musical choice was just really, really great and well handled, and it felt like it respected me as a person and didn't just kind of be like, oh hey, this is a popular song, don't you like it? Mm-hmm. And then they did Crazy Train in Kung Fu Panda 4 and fucking ruined it. But
yo, Gingy gets fucking eaten in this one. He dies. Puss eats him.
Does he die? Oh shit, yeah, he does.
Yeah, that's my last note I have down here. He dies.
That was another story choice that I just did not like, was the whole oh hey, let's make Puss in Boots fat. And it's funny because it was actually one of the trivia facts that I had stumbled upon, where a lot of the creative forces behind Shrek 4 were worried that the whole making Puss in Boots fat thing wouldn't land. And then I forget, I don't know if it was one of the animators or the director. I cannot remember who, but they were they had to sit them down and explain the comedic potential of a fat cat. And I was like, well, you must have explained it really good, because it just did not work for me. That's where I'm yeah, that felt lazy. It's the whole Avengers Endgame, let's make Thor fat kind of thing, where it's it's not funny. It just doesn't work. It's not funny. It's cheap. It's lazy. We can do better. We've done better. We've seen you do better. Come on. But yeah, I don't know. There's more. I think there's more to talk about in the third film, because there is so much more going on, and at fault of the movie. With this one, a lot of what I said still remains true in my opinion. I think it's a better movie because it's more concise. It's a little more fun. The premise and setup is a little bit more instantly engaging than the third film. There's nothing in the third movie that's oh yeah, this is really enticing, this really makes me give a shit. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one, it's oh hey, here's an alternate timeline setup, and it's all right, well, I've seen this done a dozen times over, but it's usually mildly entertaining, so let's do it.
The fourth one definitely has a more positive community around it overall than the third one. People really hate the third one, and I think there's some people that really love the fourth one.
I don't see what there is to love about the fourth one. I think again, it is more enjoyable than Shrek the Third, but that's again, for me, it's not that big of a gap. It's just slightly more entertaining and slightly more comedic. Mm-hmm. Animation about on par with each other. It's not it does, it's more, it does some things better in comparison rather than the things being done well in their own right. It's more so, oh hey, look what this does better than the third one, not hey, look what this one does great by itself.
Yeah, I wonder if this one would look worse if it was right after the second one. If it would look worse than it does now.
I think if you put this movie as the immediate follow-up to Shrek 2, I think it probably gets, I don't know, because it's not I disagree heavily with the critical reception of this movie. It is slightly more positive than the third one, but still not super great. Oh wait, can we can't do the guessing game for Rotten Tomatoes, but do you have the internet pulled up?
Yeah.
Can I do a little Metacritic guessing game?
Oh, go for it. I
right.
already have him in my head.
Oh, you already know him?
Yeah.
Okay, Shrek 3, I'm gonna guess, has a 38.
No.
All right, what's the third one?
58. That is high. That's high for Metacritic.
That's too high. Okay, Shrek 4. All right, if the third one has a 58, I'm going to say Shrek 4 has a 62.
58. It has the same exact rating as the third one, which blew my mind.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I
don't either.
The third one is like really not an enjoyable experience. This one is like mildly fun if you have a couple drinks.
The Rotten Tomatoes scores I kind of actually agree with. Like those are pretty on par with like where the range I'm at for these two movies.
Yeah.
Maybe a little high on Shrek 3, but I'm okay with like a, I don't know, like a 50s, 60s for Shrek 4. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, wow, I really did not take a lot of notes for this one. I just think there was a lot of missed opportunity in this movie too, and I think that's what kind of frustrates me as like an overall experience is while in the third film I was like, yeah, if they would have just picked any one of these plots and subplots to maybe focus on, it could have been a decent film. Whereas Shrek 4, it was more so you're focusing on the right stuff, but you're not executing it as well as you could. I just thought that there was a lot of missed opportunity. I mean, we already talked about the jokes and the plot itself not making a ton of sense and just not being in line with what we know from the previous Shrek movies, whether it's like how the characters act or what they want or desire, to just like the in-world story setup. And I had actually read somewhere that Lord Farquaad was originally going to be a part of this film, but I guess they later on, in later rewrites of the script, just scrapped him. And I don't know, I didn't realize also that there's a post-credit scene for this movie. I didn't stay for the credits, but apparently Farquaad shows up in the post-credit scene, so...
I don't think I watched till the end.
I don't know, maybe that'll tie into like Shrek 5 or whatever.
I'm really curious how the quality of Shrek 5 is going to be story-wise.
I am not excited for it. I don't think current DreamWorks is really... Okay, to be fair, I did not see The Wild Robot. It doesn't seem like my cup of tea, but I know a lot of people were really, really loving it earlier this year. I don't think I'm going to quite like it as much as like Memoir of a Snail or Mars Express, which were probably my two favorite animated movies of the year. But I don't know. I haven't been impressed with DreamWorks in a while. That's not true. And you guys will hear me talk about it next week. But the second Puss in Boots movie is fantastic, and I cannot wait to discuss it. But I mean, and guys, I really wanted to dive a little deeper. I had a lot of fun facts about the first two Shrek movies, and I had a couple about Shrek 3, but there's really nothing in Shrek 4 that I found interesting enough to bring up in terms of like cool, fun behind the scenes facts or making of trivia. A lot of the facts were pretty stupid. So
yeah, I'm trying to look at some now. I don't know.
There's like nothing that's like stands out as being kind of interesting or fun to even discuss. I don't know. But again, even though this one is slightly better than the third one, it's not one like it's not even like, oh, there's certain franchises that have bad sequels, but you're like, oh, when I'm watching them, I want to like sit down and watch all of them. I could very comfortably watch Shrek 1 and 2 and then just not put on Shrek 3 and 4 and feel just fine about it.
Yeah. Honestly, though, Lauren really dug Shrek 4.
That's okay to be wrong about things. I mean, she's a nice girl, but it's okay to be wrong.
I think she liked Fiona's character a lot more than, I mean, at least Fiona has a lot more going for her than the third one also, I think.
It's true. We didn't really bring that up, but I did kind of like that moment with Fiona, kind of turning her from that. She kind of goes through the before trilogy arc, but in just like the span of like this movie, because she Actually, one visual that I did really enjoy that kind of stands out is when Shrek goes to see what, he goes to the tower from the first movie to see if Fiona's still there, and it's like abandoned and everything, and it's a nice kind of return to the first film a little bit. And that's one of the only things that I think consistently always works about time travel plots or whatever, is going back to a familiar location and it like having a different aesthetic. And so he gets to the tower, and when he gets to the top, he gets to Fiona's room, and she's not there, of course, and he goes over to the wall and he sees all the days that she's marked.
Yeah.
And then kind of flash forward to later on when he is trying to tell her the Fiona that he knows, and she's not that person. And she says that romance didn't save her from that tower. She saved her from that tower. And so that was actually a pretty good character moment. But again, it's a great character moment, but it's at the disservice of the overall logic of the Shrek movies, because it just doesn't follow in line with the other ones.
All right, this might sound a little harsh, but were you a little underwhelmed when it showed the wall? I was thinking to myself, it's not that many days. I thought maybe I'd see like all of the walls covered in tallies. But it was just... I
mean, she definitely didn't have as terrible of a stay as Odesu in Old Boy. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was like, when did they lock her up? I thought it was like when she was a kid.
Oh, I forget how long she was in the tower.
I don't think it was that long. There might have been. Yeah, I might have to look that. I don't know. But
my question is, what happened to Fairy Godmother and Prince Charming in this timeline? Did they address that and I just missed it? Or
if they did, I don't know. I don't remember. Okay. I don't think they did.
Again, the villains of the last two movies, and in this alternate timeline, they're just not around.
Yeah.
I don't really understand that. And that kind of goes back to, again, like what I was already mentioning earlier when discussing Shrek 3. Imagine if Rumpelstiltskin had, like, in this alternate timeline, all the villains of, these fairy tales were a part of this. And now, Rumpelstiltskin gets his happy ending, and like all these other villains are living this life. And that could be interesting. But I feel like that little subplot was kind of wasted in the third movie.
Yeah, let's go back for a second. Let's talk about what we talked about in Shrek 2, because Godmother makes this like decades old deal with Harold when he's like a young guy.
Yeah.
So the plan is still for her son to rescue Fiona. Right? So where the hell does that fit in?
These were just not well planned sequences.
That should have still happened. She should have got her Prince Charming. They actually should have done that. I would have liked to see that, actually.
What Fiona gets married to Charming?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah, that would make a lot more sense.
Her being with Farquaad would have made sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's other more logical routes you could have taken story-wise that align with the other movies a lot better than what they did. And I get why they did what they did. And again, like I could totally see someone and why they would be a fan of Fiona's arc in this. On the surface, it is one of the better written portions of the film. Again, it's at the fault though of the logic of the movie, and I think as a whole, the writing suffers because of it. Not that individual plot line isn't written well; it just doesn't make sense for that character. I guess.
I just thought about that now. Wow.
Yeah. Again, like I just don't think this film. There's not a lot to point to, in my opinion, to say that it's marginally better than the third one. I stick with my initial sentiment that it's slightly better. I would put it on before the third one, but I don't think I'd actively go out of my way to watch either of these movies again.
I might slap the fourth one on again. Who knows?
Maybe if you're ever in the doghouse, you can always just be like, "Hey, you want to watch Shrek 4?"
Yeah. Because she was saying it's pretty close to the first one.
It's not.
Because she was like, she's like, the second one's my favorite, but she was like, I think I'd like the first one more, but this one is right behind it.
Oh, if we weren't on air, I would have you call her in here right now, and I give her a piece of my mind. Yeah, shall we give scores and then get on out of here?
Yeah, I'm ready. I could start with the third one.
Yeah, take it away.
So I'm gonna roll with a a 3.8 for Shrek 3.
3.8. That is not bad. Not bad. I'm going to give Shrek the Third a very fitting 3 out of 10. Just
Solid.
a clean 3. I do not
Clean.
like it. I
Clean.
do not. I had zero fun watching this movie. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's me. I'm
Oh,
going to give Shrek 4 a very
Don't do
fitting
it.
4 out of
Don't.
10.
Man, you got so clean on me.
I think it's fitting for how little I'm going to think about these movies in the next couple of days.
I think I'm rolling with a. You know what? I'll stay a little bit more positive on this. I'm going to give Shrek 4 a 5.1.
Wow.
5.1.
Oh, man. It just hit me. You gave this a similar score to Fear Street?
Hell yeah.
How?
Hell yeah.
Wait, no, you gave this a better score than the first Fear Street.
Yeah, I did.
That's absurd.
Yeah, I did. One's better.
I would watch Fear Street so much more over this
One
movie.
is better. One is better than the other. That's just what it is.
Oh, that's just outlandish. This is more of an upsetting take than you not liking the substance.
We don't have to talk about that. You'll come around one day.
No, I won't. I'm gonna buy it on 4K Blu-ray and I'm gonna rate it 5 more times and just to rile you up.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it more. I actually might go lower, and the more I watch it,
I don't want you to ever watch it again.
I'm gonna keep watching it.
It's not for you.
Yeah, only good movies are for me. Only good ones.
All right, guys. There's no reason to recommend next episode's films because obviously, like mentioned, we are finishing up our Shrek series with Puss in Boots, both of those movies. So if you haven't seen those, definitely check those out before the next episode. If you don't know, we air every other Tuesday, so you get 2 episodes a month. Also, check us out over on Patreon, from patreon.com/franchise deep dive, where we upload bonus content. $2 a month gives you access to all of our content. As of right now, we do our Watch List Wednesdays, which air Wednesdays opposite of our regularly scheduled episodes. It's where we just take turns recommending each other films on our watch list, usually one that either neither of us have seen or that the other hasn't seen, or just a film that we want to revisit and we haven't seen in a while. We've done a couple films. We've done Network from Sidney Lumet, Old Boy from Park Chan-wook, which is a personal favorite of mine. We also have Being John Malkovich, which was free and uploaded both on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and here on my personal YouTube channel, Former Film Student, as a free little taste of what you will get over on Patreon. But also, that's where we upload all our episodes on all 3 of those platforms. So make sure to check us out there, like, subscribe, follow, leave comments, messages, all that good stuff. I'll hand it over to Josh to plug our socials.
Yep. So give us a number 1 follow on Instagram. It's going to be the best spot for us for activity and just communicating with us. But if you feel free, if you feel more inclined to email us, just email us at franchisedeepdive@gmail.com. And again, on Instagram, where it's just franchisedeepdive. DM us or comment your favorite picks of the week or just any future picks you want us to watch, and we will maybe dig into them. We'll see. We'll see how good of a pick they are. But
yeah, we have some stuff planned, but we're
we
open to deviating. Yeah. So and get ahead of the curve. If you start recommending now, you have a better shot. We try to plan ahead. But yeah, of course, guys, thank you for listening. I think me and Josh officially just finished recording our shortest episode to date. I think this one is probably the shortest, and fitting for 2 mediocre Shrek sequels. But yeah, of course, thank you guys again for listening. We do appreciate it. As Josh said, reach out to us. We'd love feedback, what we can work on. If you guys are willing to watch them, these episodes more, if we shorten them, we'll try to do a better job at making these episodes a little bit more concise. Maybe we'll start spreading franchises out a little bit more, let ourselves and the episodes breathe a little bit more, but we'll have to see about that. But again, let us know. And Josh, normally I have a question for you, but instead I have a little bit of wisdom to impart on you. Life can sure be tough, but at least I can always count on my fingers.
Oh, he's losing it over there.
That was a good one. That was a good one. That's such a good dad joke. Oh, I love it. But anyway, guys, yeah, thank you again for listening to Franchise Deep Dive. As for Jake and Josh, goodbye.
Catch you later.